Welcome everyone. The time is 9 o'clock and welcome to this webinar where you will learn more about Norway's best and how Norway's best went from Excel, or if I dare to say a bit of an Excel hell, to a modern and efficient tool for managing their budgeting and forecasting processes, and also, of course, to ensure financial control throughout the organization. And it's very lovely to see that we have so many participants today here, a mix of people from various industries within the private sector mainly. My name is Eric Thielander. I'm Chief Product Officer at Hypergene, and I will be facilitating this session today. Before we start, though, I would like to draw your attention to the fact that all microphones are muted. You are, however, more than welcome to ask questions, and you can do this by using the Q&A function that you see at the bottom of the screen. We will answer this question as time allows during the webinar or after if we don't have time to cover them. With that said, I would like to introduce the participants from the Hypergene side and also from Norway's best today here. We have Tord Gerlöv, Head of Accounting at Norway's Best. And for those of you who are perhaps not familiar with Norway's Best, it's a leading tourism and hospitality group in Norway with offerings like the famous Flom Railway, if you have joined that one, and also Fjord Cruises. But they also run hotels and restaurants. And in addition, we also have Stig Roar Sandvik. Stig Roar is Vice President of Product Strategy here at Hypergene. Before I hand over to you, though, Stig Roar, a few words about Hypergene for those of you who have not perhaps met with us before. Hypergene is a Nordic software company with focus on what we refer to as CFO tech. We offer industry-optimized planning and performance management solutions, aiming at, of course, helping CFOs, finance teams, but also decision makers throughout the organization to become more efficient, to plan with precision, and also make better and fact-based decisions. And as you can see, we are very Nordic-centered, or rather mostly working with companies headquartered in the Nordics, but most often with a larger reach than the Nordics. The solution that Bestway has implemented, and the solution we will talk about here today, is labeled the CFO Platform. This solution is very established in Norway and run by many of Norway's best companies in the private sector. It's an innovative and partly unique solution for the CFO and also developed by CFOs. And by this webinar, we're actually introducing this fantastic solution to Sweden. So it's a bit of a big day, at least for us at Hypergene, and hopefully you will enjoy it as well here. So with that said, as an introduction, I will hand over to you, Stig. The stage is yours, basically.
Introduce Tord and Norway's Best, and they have a short video. Fantastic. What a video. So I will welcome Tord to this webinar. So it's kind of a funny thing. We're taking the Norwegian's best FP&A tool and now bringing it to Sweden. And then we're of course bringing one of our fantastic customers, Norway's best, bringing the tourism to Sweden as well, I guess. So if you, Tord, can start a little bit, kind of how did you work before? And can I explain a little bit the background?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on this webinar. So I have been invited to tell a little bit about how we work with budgeting and forecast in Norway's best. So a little bit about our business. As you can see from the video, we have a lot of fantastic products. We mainly operate in Flam and in Myrkdalen. So our key business is the tourism. To talk a little bit about how we used to work before implementing profit base, we had in Norway's best, we are a big group, a lot of people, and we have a lot of people that needs to be working together to be able to get a good cooperation. So what I found was that we had a heavy reliance on Excel spreadsheets. We had a lot of manual consolidations across the business units and the destinations, and we found it was very time consuming to do the reporting. We had weeks of effort, and it was always a risk of errors, and we always really struggled to manage to keep our deadlines.
So then you kind of went out and said, okay, we need to address this. So yeah. So how did you go about, and then how does that change your process today?
Yeah, we found that it was quite hard to work together in Excel spreadsheets. It would be working a lot of people together in the Excel spreadsheets would lead to errors, and it was also like I mentioned, very manual consolidations from the business units. So then we decided to go for some systems. And this is an illustration that we like to use when we talk about how we work with budgeting and forecasting. So we have, like most of the companies, we have like a group structure with a group on the top, and we have companies, business areas, business units, and also departments. What we wanted from a system was to have a fully consolidated system. And we found this solution in Profit Base. So Profit Base allows you to take your entire department structure and to build it into the system. You can then have user access on different levels. You can have user settings on different tasks. So what this illustration basically means is that you get this flow of numbers running through from bottom up, and also you get to set some admin settings on the group level that can also be pushed down, and you have then also a very nice workflow between the different levels within the system. So for instance, the restaurant manager can then only do some part of the work and has to be reviewed by the hotel manager again, and then goes further up all the way to the CEO. So this is like just a simple illustration of our structure and how we work, and how the system allows us to work together, and also to set some boundaries on the user settings.
Did you, Tord, I think you made a story about one of the department lead and their experience when you rolled it out. Kind of, I think it was a restaurant manager in that case, wasn't it, or a hotel manager?
Yeah, so we like we said in the beginning, we have a lot of hotels, we have fjord cruises, and we have also some railway activities, and we then have a lot of people involved in the budgeting process and also in the forecast. So this was very time consuming for our managers, and when we implemented this system, then we found also that some people were having some spreadsheets on the side, and that's something that I also will talk a bit more about, how profit base also allows you to use modeling for more advanced calculations. Yeah, so to summarize, now after implementing CFO Platform from profit base, we get real-time insights across business units. We get standardized processes, and we have ownership at the local level, and that's what we're talking about by giving the opportunities to the managers and people at the business areas to actually own their own numbers. And what we also found after implementing the system was that using a system is much more efficient, and it also gives you more time to review the numbers. Instead of just producing, you actually get time to review and do some analytics. And also it gives us a much better reliance on the data.
So when did you implement it? Well, kind of how many years have you running it?
We have been on the profit-based CFO platform for around 3 years now. So this will be our third year's budgeting on profit base. And then also we're doing monthly forecasting. And that's maybe where we have the most advantage of profit-based CFO platform, because then it's a monthly process, and it's really time consuming to work with forecasts in Excel. And it has given us a much better reporting to actually be able to focus also on the forecast and not only budgets. So this is illustration of how the department structure can look like. So this is one of our business units, the one in Flam. So you can implement and you can import your entire business structure. And then you can also do the input on the lowest level in your organization. And we have, in this example, we have hotels, we have restaurants, and then some departments requires more advanced modeling, and some departments may use just simple inputs. And profit base allows you to adjust this on the department level. So that's also very advantage for the end user. So here's an example of how we work with our hotels. So in Norway's Best, all the hotel manager has to use a model for forecasting and budgeting the hotel and the food and beverage revenues and also costs. So we have built a model, and this is how the model looks like for the manager. So as you can see, it's like just simple input. You can input on the price and the availabilities, and then it's very easy to update on a regular basis, like a monthly forecast. In the background, it looks more like this. So this is how you can, from the admin settings, you can build your own models. You have input models where you can you can do all your calculations, and then you also have assumptions. So that can also be open as an input for the end user. So you can also here decide if you want the admin settings or if you want the end user to actually input the data.
Would it be fair to say that some of this you probably had in your spreadsheet originally, so you kind of reused your knowledge and of your over time built this spreadsheet, but you now more got it into a more robust system? Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah, that's correct. So a lot of our hotel managers had Excel spreadsheets, but they were maybe built in a different way. So the system allows us to work more in one way. And also for the hotel managers that had an Excel spreadsheets, we could get these Excel spreadsheets and use them as an inspiration to set up the model for them. And also now we find that they also rely much more on the system than they did on their Excel spreadsheets. So I think it's a good advantage also for the end user. So it takes some time to get used to it, but then you can see all the advantages that you have with calculating in a system. And we also find that it's more transparent. to get all the data. So it's much more reliable when it comes to analytics, and you can also be able to see what data you used when you made a budget.
Yeah, because that's kind of, you can have some assumption, as you said, across the whole organization. So like, say, energy prices, and instead of having an assumption in each spreadsheet for each individual, yeah, which will varies, I assume, as an assumption, you can kind of say that this is an assumption that is actually, we can model on the top, or we can say that this is the energy price that we fixed it at. Or yeah, so that's an example.
Yeah, so it's much easier to actually have an overview of what kind of inputs you use on the group levels and also in the department levels. So it makes it much more transparent through the entire organization.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, so we're also gonna talk a little bit about how we combine using profit-based with our other systems in the group. So we have an Azure SQL database where we can also import and export. So profit-based allows also like import of data and export of data, which we found very helpful. So then we have our accounting systems that's connected to the database, and then we also get our numbers directly into profit base, which is very helpful, especially when you're doing the monthly forecast, when you get historical data combined with the forecast, and you can see the entire year in one table. So we're using the report functions in profit base, but we also use profit base to visualize the data on the database. And we also use profit base visual matrix in the Microsoft Power BI. So we also have a lot of other systems in the group that also combines with the database and help us to report on all levels, and also to be imported and exported to profit base if we see it fit.
Did you have, for your BI tool discussion you probably had a few years ago, was then a decision to make Power BI your kind of overall reporting engine, or kind of visualization engine?
Yeah, we took the decision at the same time as we were implementing profit base, that we found that it was a very good combination when profit base is allowing input of data and also exporting data. Import and export, and then we found that the combination of an SQL server and Power BI would be a very strong tool, and we're very happy about the decisions we made, and we're continuing to develop our reporting in both profit base and in Power BI.
Yeah.
So we have just an example of how we use our data in Power BI, where we have a budget for 2026, and we can compare it to the forecast for 2025, and we can calculate the changes, and we also can compare it to the 2025 budget for comparison. So this is how we would use the table function in Power BI, and we also have the report functions in profit base. So you can also here select and compare periods and find deviations and analyze.
So when do you use the profit base embedded reports that's there versus what you use in Power BI?
Yeah, we use the report that's built into profit base mainly for our own work in the workflow in the organizations, and then we use Power BI as the reporting to external members, to the boards, to the management.
So it'd be fair to say that, when you distribute your kind of your overall pack of information, Power BI is a distribution tool and visualization there. This is more internal when you're kind of running the application itself.
Yeah, that's true. So that's how we work, and also budgeting. When you're doing the budgeting work or the forecast, then you would often have to do some comparison or some analysis, and then we find it very useful to use the reporting functions built into profit base.
Yeah. Because that's kind of a decision we made, that we're not going to spend all our development on building a huge BI solution inside a solution. It obviously needs just kind of the most common used one, and then you kind of connect your BI tool of your choice on top of it.
Yeah, and then the import and export function in Profit Base also allows you to make schedules, so you can have export on default settings by 1 hour or 2, so you can keep your Power BI reports also live with live data from your budget or your forecast. So that's makes it very possible to use Power BI as a reporting tool. So yeah, that's quickly on how we use the profit-based CFO platform in Norway's Best. We also have we're using the payroll functions also. That's another example of how we can save time on using admin settings throughout the organizations, and we also use a lot of other functions in profit-based, and we find that it saves us a lot of time in the budgeting process. It gives us more reliance on the numbers, and also it makes it's possible to report on forecast on a monthly basis for the full year. So we're very happy about being on the CFO platform for the third year in Norway's Best.
Very good to hear. So what's the next step in your journey? Obviously, it's a good when you look at this. But kind of what's the next iteration?
Yeah, we're looking into also using more of the cash flow tools that's in Profit Base. We have a very complicated business stream, so we need to do some measures to be able to use it. But we think cash flow is something that we're gonna spend more time on. Also investments, that's something that's also possible to do in Profit Base, and especially scenarios where you can run different scenarios in the program. That's something that we noticed that the board is asking more questions about. It's inflation and stuff has been high, so it's very nice that you also can run different scenarios in the program. So you have a base case, or you have a worst case or best case, and you can use different input data and calculate these scenarios. So that's something we're gonna start using from this budget for 2026.
And then maybe if you do an acquisition, I think you've done some acquisition over the couple of years, kind of how do your cash flow or your kind of P&L look like with or without this new acquisition, kind of as a decision making?
Yeah, that's also very helpful, because Profit Base allows you to work with different versions. So you can, for instance, budget twice. You can have one version without the acquisition or with the acquisition, and so also like scenarios, but also versions makes it possible to do this. Several budgets for 2026, and the department structure is also very easy to maintain, so you can add new businesses as you grow.
Very good. So when it comes to a little bit the implementation, so how did you find the implementation kind of process when you started in 2021 or something, 2022?
We did the implementation a little bit step by step, so it we could prepare, get to know the system before we took it to the next level. So that's kind of how we have been working these 3 years with Profit Base. So we had some different workshops and also training, and then we basically just started using the systems, some part of the system, and then we built step by step, adding on more features, and we found that was a good way for us to be implementing the system, and also that way we could also make sure that the entire organization was also be able to work with the system and get to know the system, and find a good workflow within the organization.
So if we were to ask one of the hotel managers or restaurant manager or some of the business owner, what would be their kind of feedback from before and today?
Yeah, we get a lot of good feedback every year in the budget process. I think people still remember how it used to be, and especially the accounting side of it is a dream now. So yeah, we get a lot of good feedback, and I think everyone is quite happy about how things are running now. We can have more discussion about the business, more discussions about the numbers, and less discussions about Excel formulas and the workflow that can be a little bit tricky when you're having a heavy reliance on the Excel spreadsheets.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you, Tord. I'll show a little bit in the system so the participant have a little bit feel for how it looks and feel. I'm not going to do a demo in detail. So if that's interesting, let us know and we will gladly do that. This is how we present, how does our solution look like, kind of from a PowerPoint perspective. So we have Envision and Flow, which is our core layer, whereas we built our application in a two-stage rocket. So we first building our building blocks, and then we take these building blocks to build our final solution. So Envision is our kind of local solution, and Flow is our automation solution. We're going to look at budgeting and forecasting today primarily, but we do also have consolidation. So if we have a connection to the ERP system, you can also do the consolidation overall and not having kind of two separate solutions for that. Also risk management and other custom application. As Tord was mentioning, we are have some specific integration with Power BI, but we could also use Click or others as the part of the export. But if you're using Power BI, then we have some plugins to Power BI that makes it even more easy to visualize the end result. So where's our dream? So our dream is that the CFO platforms are going to be what you need on top of your ERP system to cover most of the CFO's activities. That means, of course, we don't have everything today, but joining forces with Hypergene means that we're going to be having more potentials within, for example, strategic planning, which Hypergene is very strong at. We just partnered up with an ESG partners, so we're going to white label that and be part of our solution. And then we have quite a few of the other activities. So our goal is to be a platform for the CFO, built by the CFO. A little bit kind of where we're coming from. So we did this survey in 2024 where we asked the CFO, what's kind of, if you're going to choose the full standard off-the-shelf solution versus a fully customized built to your need, most is kind of ending up in this bracket. They want it to lean towards the standardization, but they want the flexibility with some customization if needed. And that's where our strength is. We do, from our current customer base, 85% of the solution delivery is standard, kind of off the shelf. We configure it up and running quite quickly. But if you do need some customization, we're using the building blocks that we actually already have and add that to your solution to make that kind of last 10-15% custom for you. But it means that we're still using the building blocks that we have, that we maintain. So your technical debt will be very small and it's fully upgradable. So the business logic will be business specific, but the overall technical debt will be not the customer side. So it's kind of what we're aiming for, the best of both worlds. You see kind of our overall, we have multiple solutions like consolidation, budgeting, and forecasting. So that is the kind of the management hub where it's common for all of the solutions. So if you have multiple solutions in our kind of ecosystem of the CFO platform, you will be able to manage, for example, users across the board. You will be able to manage dimensions across the board. You will have one financial data mart that consume in all the different solutions. So for example, your organization hierarchies can be consumed by the different solutions. And also we have this very strong, what we call the true versioning, which is it's a complete all elements in the solution. So if we do a new version, you can change the organization structure with this in that version without impacting the current version you're running a budget on, for example. So the budget for 2026 may have a different setup, a reorganization versus the one that actually you're running the forecast on today. So it's not just versioning in the sense of kind of the product or the version of just a data set. It's the actual whole application is duplicated and be reused. So I'm just going to go a little bit into the kind of process of budgeting and forecasting, and I'm going to show a little bit into the solution of some of the elements. So of course we integrate with your source system, and it could be your payroll system, it could be your ERP systems. We have a PaaS platform, so integration platform. So we have a lot of standard connections that can be used, or if there are something we don't know from the past, then we just set it up. It's just a technical thing, and then we get it running. Integration is always an important part of any of the project. And sometimes we connect to the data warehouse if the customer has a data warehouse. So we pull the data from the data warehouse, and we kind of provide the data from the budgeting and the different data sets from the budgeting and forecasting solution. Modeling and calculation. So Todd was just showing kind of a screenshot on models, and I'm just going to go into it just to explain a little bit on that. But modeling is an important part of it to make it easy for the input users, not be reliant on the financial kind of accounting and so forth. So that's part of the modeling. And it's to remove the departmental silos. Running what if scenarios. So testing business cases, strategies, scenarios, generate, and one part is that we do is to generate balance. Kind of it's a full general ledger that is produced by the input on the P&L accounts. Means that through the assumptions, what your payment terms is, that could be done to even the lowest level, which is kind of product or market or segments, depending on how much you want to maintain. So we always say that do it to the levels where it counts. So this kind of 80-20 rules it's a good starting point, but it generates a full general ledger. So meaning that you can look at the cash, which is one part that Norway's Best is now gonna look into more and starting modeling the full balance. And as I mentioned, you can return to a previous version at any given time and look how it looked in last year or last forecast. Connect to your financial report, use a standardized Power BI model, for example. We have out of the box a set of reports that you can start to use, and then you probably will mold it into what your requirement is, including maybe other data sources in your dashboard. But it will save you quite a lot of time on the starting point. And then you have workflows and tasks to just run the overall process more smoothly. The system can generate tasks, or you can generate ad hoc tasks as required. So here's an example of just how it visually in a PowerPoint slide works. So if you have your P&L, this will be just set up in how you look at the P&L. It can be multiple P&Ls. You can have the easiest input, which is on accounts. So you will have, it looks like a spreadsheet, and you will see and notice a red line here, which means that the actual is on the left side, and on the right side is where you're forecasting, and then you have your different accounts down here. So that's the simplest way of doing input. And you do that maybe for departments that is more reliant on the accounting side. Maybe it doesn't have a driver-based models. And then you will have more the driver-based, which also Todd was showing kind of briefly in how they was doing here. And then you will have your input. And in some instances, we do make a specific input module for our customers. So if it's most 95+% is using a standard drive-based model, so we just configure it. But if there are very specific need that is making it too complicated, or we want to just make it so easy for the input user, maybe with some contacts, then we make an extension to it. It still feeds into the standard solution, but you will have this kind of one edition. Or you can build custom apps. So, for example, just to collect data for ESG reporting and so forth, using the same components for the overall CFO platform. And then you feed it to your data mart in the CFO platform or your own data warehouse, and then it goes into a report. So if I go into the solution, just kind of show you a little bit. So I'm in the solution now. You will have my hamburger menu where you have your different solutions. In the admin, you have this version control as an example, which is the administration hub or the hub. So if I want to do, say if I have a forecast, I want to do a new forecast. An example of that is just to create a new version, give it a name. For Q4 as an example. And then I will copy the Q1 latest version. I will roll this 6 months ahead, roll it forward and click create. It takes, 10 minutes, make a cup of coffee. And then what happens then, I move the actuals. I collect all the actuals through the integration from the ERP-system, create that red line in your input screen, and then you will start your forecasting process of the Q4 forecast. So all this preparation work is done with almost a click versus a lot of preparation if you're using spreadsheets. So that's a very powerful, and the version also can be used for, as I said, scenario planning. You can also use it to just upgrade this particular version, and then just to test if the upgradable is kind of working fine. So you don't have to do that in the production environment. So it can be used for multiple purposes. If I go into one specific prognosis, you will see if I'm going to do input, you will have your department structure on the side here. So if I department A and click on operating income, what I launch then is a module, for example, a driver-based model for that department. And that's what Todd was showing, that the complexity of the organization is high and there's different drivers on each department or business unit. Then you will have different, for each of these individual lines, you can launch different sub-pages, modules where you can do the input, which is tailored for that particular entity. So as I said, here's the red line between what's actual and what's the forecast. And then if we're gonna show one more thing is we're doing the export and all the import and export through this page. And if I go into an example of report, you can see our standard output, different type of, oops, here, probably need to refresh this one. And you will see the different versions that you can pull up and compare. You can see what's your actual, the budget, the variance, and so forth. So out of the box, we have a standard export, which we have a set of reports that you can start from. And you can also do, if you want to do commenting on it. So we know that that's kind of a huge requirement. So you do make some comments. In this case, if I look at the actuals here, I will see the comments in here. And if I click on this mark, I can launch this workbook where all the comments is residing, and I can make kind of a change to it and say that this for the next quarterly report, this is going to be the comment for this one. So you can combine in the Power BI and also the generation of comments and notes and so forth. All of these things here, dimension report setup. So setting up your report, what account is into the subtotals, input versions and comments and notes is then reused in the Power BI or Click or other environment or BI tools that you're using. Just a quick note in the end. So, CFO Platform is fast to implement and rapid time to value. So this is just an example. It's in Norwegian, so sorry about that, but it just shows what Tord was also saying, that you can take it in phases. So with typical implementation time, I say it's like 100 hours, depending on a little bit the complexity of the organization, but in average, it's 100 hours. And we're going through the different phases where we train the super users to be able to maintain the solution themselves. So we are not there to stay just to stay and kind of sell hours. We want the customer to be able to maintain and own their own application, and we will be there to support them if they need to. But it is through the implementation where most of the training is done. And it can take, 2 months kind of thing, but because it's a little bit preparation from the customer side as well. But most of the time, 2 months to 4 months, depending on how quick you're gonna kind of roll it out, and availability of internal resources. So fast implementation, rapid time to value. Introduction to the CFO platform, Erik.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much, Stig-Roar. I don't think we have many questions, which could be proof of the fact that it was very clear. But if you want to know more, please visit us at hypergene.com. What we've been talking about here today is the new CFO platform, basically. And if you want to dive into the details, please visit the website and learn more or contact us directly. So with that said, thank you everyone for setting the time off, and have a great rest of the day. And thank you, Stig-Roar, and thank you, Tord.
Thank you, Tord. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you.